Dear Mima, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. I left my cell, my pager, and my home phone at the bottom. I sent 2 letters back in autumn. You must not have got them, but probably was a problem at the post office or something. Sometimes I scribble addresses too sloppy when I jot them. But anyway, fuck it. What's been up, man? Yeah, okay.
So I guess besides reading the title and thumbnail, can you guess? Yeah, can you guess what movie we're doing based off of the intro? Oh, also special guest again.
I'm back.
Yeah, from last week. He's back again.
I've been here a whole week. They have not let me out of the office. This is a cry for help. Let me out.
Maybe he's a regular now. Who knows?
Let me out.
Anybody who's fan of Hunter, let us know by posting his address in the comments.
Oh man!
How perfectly fitting for this movie.
After last week, and me saying some incendiary things about Star Wars, I'm sure people are going to be definitely in love with me enough to want to stalk me.
They're currently stalking you.
Stalk me.
Oh, I could have also done. I could have done. I love Kanye as well because it's also a good.
Sure, yeah,
self-referential. I don't like who you've become thing. That's pretty good. Man, I used to like Hunter. What happened?
Until you stalked him and learned everything about him.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, I've changed.
Yeah,
since I stopped being in that girl pop group.
The all-girl pop group that you grew out of.
You just thought
it was when your beard started coming in. When
I just got too big,
yeah.
And I miss them, and I think they really helped me grow into the performer that I am today, and I want to tell them straight to the camera, no hard feelings. Like, I didn't leave because I hated you. I didn't leave because I didn't think I couldn't grow with the group. I just was on to different things, and in my career, that's
so
okay. The bit's over.
So welcome to Full Time Movie Fans.
Go ahead.
I am.
Read your cue card. Just read your cue card like you're supposed to. Sound it out.
This is
Jarvis.
And over here, Hunter.
Are you? I'm trying to figure out if you're like the.
He's doing a bit.
The evil dude in this movie. Like, if that's like what your vibe is.
I was trying to remember character names and I just failed miserably.
Yeah, it's okay.
This is Mima. Because
Mima.
that's how we were doing this. I was going to be the lady agent.
Oh yeah,
with the
Mimu or something.
Rumi.
Yes,
Rumi.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw this movie in May. I watched it in May.
Yeah, and this is Jarvis.
Yeah, I'm still me. So basically, this is like the story of Destiny's Child, where Beyonce just kind of left the other two.
Yeah, except a lot less Diddy party happening in this one.
And then Beyonce's agent
I don't know.
thought she was her and tried to murder her. I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and P. Diddy murdered Tupac, and
Yeah.
Just like in this movie. Perfect.
I'd be worried about people coming after me, but what's he gonna do?
Yeah, guys, welcome. This is Full Time Movie Fans, and this is a commenter request. And again, I failed to look at the commenter's name before coming on here. So I'm sorry, but I want you to know that we are listening to you, and if you leave a comment with a request for a movie, we're gonna review it for you because we care about you guys a lot.
It's true.
Until we get to 1 million, and we can't possibly review everybody's movies.
Yeah,
but
once we get to 1 million, I can't possibly care about you.
Well,
Statistically,
I mean, it's
impossible.
gonna be hard to like capture every single person's request if they're throwing them in the comments,
No,
and if they're
well,
leaving like
if you want to speak logistically, there are ways to get the data and then have the data quantified properly to see what has been requested and how many times.
okay, Mr. Science Guy, we'll figure that out when we get to that bridge.
Okay.
We'll cross it when we get there. So we
Put
will.
in the comments.
Yeah, just put comments on our videos for now. We're still young and starting off, just like the protagonist of this movie. She's young. She's starting off her career.
That's exactly what I thought about when I started watching this. Is I went, wow, Mima really reminds me of Jarvis.
Of us.
You doing okay over there?
I'm not. It's what's so funny is I got so nervous that you were gonna trick me into doing the synopsis again. I was pulling up the Wikipedia, and then producer Sybil cut to me and caught me, and then she's kept cutting back to me.
Oh
just
yeah,
laughing.
no, she does that to me all the time.
So I just
I
feel like
can't
I
really
got
do
right
it
in.
this
I
time.
apologize. I'm not checking texts. I'm I'm checking my phone in fear. I did.
He did look very
I'm
guilty.
not on my phone. I'm on Wikipedia. It doesn't matter.
So Hunter,
Uh-huh.
to make sure you lose your spot on the Wikipedia page, what were your first impressions of this movie?
I saw Perfect Blue for the first time in the middle of the pandemic, a totally normal time to watch a movie like this.
Kind of an awful
and I
time
was
to do it.
Doing so good. And
Things
I
were starting to things were starting to look up for you.
doing better after I saw this.
They said you can go to the grocery store with a mask.
I can.
And then you should try watching this.
I'm alone all the time, and I'm going to watch a movie about feeling isolated in your life
and not
in your
knowing who
home.
you are.
Yeah,
And not living up to the expectations of other people or yourself.
Yeah, keep going, Michael. I'm feeling great about that.
Just want to make sure I hit all the themes.
Yeah, let's have a top-down thematic discussion about Mima. So I saw this for the first time during the pandemic. I don't know why I decided to watch it. I think it was just coming up on Twitter something a lot, and I sat down to watch it and had no clue what I was getting into. I don't have, I think maybe different from you, I don't know about you, Jarvis, but I don't have a lot of history with anime. And so I wanted to...
I do. I'm half Asian, so I kind of came out the womb watching anime.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you like K-dramas? Fake.
No,
He's catching
but
you. He's catching you in your attempt.
I watched the OG K dramas, the ones that my mom would get from the Korean store and rent the VHSs.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched a lot of K dramas before the K dramas were K dramas. You know what I mean?
Do you like manhwas?
Yeah, if they're good.
Okay.
Solo leveling is manhwas.
Yeah, it is.
Solo
pretty good.
leveling.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of that at the store too.
Yeah.
A lot of people buying solo leveling.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Speaking of solo leveling, you were saying about your...
Oh yeah. So I watched it, having no idea what I was getting into, and I kind of left just like really floored. As somebody who is like a self-proclaimed pop music fan, I have always loved pop music since I was a kid, and like like seeing this kind of thing repeat itself throughout culture and throughout history, and it kind of getting ahead of like what social media looks like, was like my mind was so blown that I was like, I was disturbed, and then I forgot to be disturbed by the end of the movie, where I was like, that's crazy that he made this in what, it was 96 or
It's his
something.
first one.
I think it's his first film out the gate, which already is crazy, but like you come out and make this movie that feels so prophetic and so like it knew what was coming in a way. It's really nuts. Like even watching it today, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
I have to disagree with you right off the bat. I don't think it's pathetic at all. I think it's really good.
I want to be clear. I said prophetic. I don't need more commenters
Get in the comments.
on my ass, Jarvis. I don't need more of them.
See, now you're getting a crash course in how Michael feels every other week.
If you are a big fan of Jarvis, put his social security number in the comments.
Put in the comments your favorite bit that I've done to annoy Michael.
Including
and now
the
Hunter.
ones off screen because you listen from the window.
All right. I think I just need to get out.
Nope, we're not bringing this one back. We're not bringing
here we
this
go.
bit back.
Now
He's been using "Get Out" as like an ongoing pun.
Okay.
Since we did the "Get Out" episode.
Oh, you did a Get Out episode, and now it's
and now
every.
he just says it every once in a while and claims it's a pun. That's what happens. That's what's been happening.
Jarvis, that's not how words work.
Well, at least I haven't done this Ghibli Ghibli for a little while. Remember that one?
Yeah,
Way back when.
The Ghibli Ghibli.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain it. It's okay. I'll be okay.
So it's prophetic, you say. It's
prophetic.
prophetic, this guy says.
Prophetic.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just was really, really, really amazed at how much Satoshi Kon seemed to know about where things were heading. And the more that you watch his films and like Paranoia Agent and stuff like that.
Have you watched Paprika?
I've watched Paprika.
Okay, good.
I've watched all of his films at this point.
good.
Guys, we have a review. We have a review of Paprika, so go find that and watch that.
Yeah.
And like and leave a comment and subscribe.
And if you
did
find that,
Paprika.
put in the comments Jarvis's full legal name. Thank you.
And so,
This is the bit I'm going with for the rest of the episode. All of these things will get you banned off of YouTube, by the way. So if you do that, you're not gonna have an account anymore. Just to be clear.
Yeah, so I don't know. I the more you watch Satoshi Kon's work, he just like, I don't know. He was operating on some level where he knew he could see what was coming.
Yeah.
And I hate to like deify him because he's a dude that passed away tragically young, and like, I don't know. Nobody's like,
Upset about it?
Nobody's a god. No, everybody's upset
Yeah,
about
you
it,
know,
Jarvis.
You know what they say: the lights that burn brightest
Are dead.
are also the ones that burn the shortest.
Oh, true. Yeah. They do say that.
Yeah, also are dead, I guess. Yeah, thank you, Jarvis.
The lights that burn brightest are dead.
So they're dead lights
I don't know what.
from It.
Like an It.
Stephen King's It.
Stephen King's
Oh,
It,
I don't
not
read.
this episode.
The dead lights.
So yeah, I don't know. I just that's and still like as I've rewatched them, it's not a movie I plan on rewatching many times in my life, but it's just too heavy. But when I rewatched it earlier this year, it was like all the same stuff was hitting me just in like totally different ways.
Yeah, I'll do my impression.
Yes, please.
Next, I completely agree.
Wait, your impression of the girl? You'd have
This
to.
is my impression
you speak
of Jarvis.
Japanese? Oh.
Get out. So, something I liked particularly about this movie was that the first, like, I want to say like 40, 45 minutes of it, I was like, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I'm following along pretty well. And then it hits you like a Satoshi Kon movie does, where you're like, oh, everything doesn't make sense anymore. I have no idea what's real, and I'm having a blast, and I'm also terrified. And it was great. Phenomenal. I even had to sit there for like 10 minutes afterwards to be like, what just happened? And I'm happy to say that I feel like I've got a good grasp on the entire thing.
Yeah, this was easier to understand, I think, and follow than Primer was.
Have you seen Primer?
I don't think so. What
Time
is
travel movie.
Primer.
They made it with like $5,000.
No,
it won
I have
the
not seen
Sundance
Primer.
Film Festival.
I've been meaning to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watch it and then watch our review of it and put a like in.
Jarvis thought it was too complicated,
He's
which I agree with.
He's farming likes and subscribes off of me, you guys.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Hey, man.
Get it? Look, business is business
Hey,
is business.
maybe watch it with a couple of people and
be
then
there.
send
Yeah.
them each individually a link to the review so
You're
you can
right.
all
You know what?
watch
You
it
know what?
separately and then talk
know
about
what?
Put it on a
afterwards.
spreadsheet. Email it to your friends.
You're right.
Spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Your impression. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't speak Japanese, so it's going to be a bad impression.
That's fine.
It's going to be an English one.
I do Kermit pretty well.
Yes, you can. But no, just like you guys, I was absolutely floored. Like, my first thought was, because because I'd seen Paprika first, which we did at your recommendation, and it was a good one, and people are still watching that video. But I was expecting kind of something crazy like Paprika was, where, I mean, it's a dream world. There's dreams coming into, and they're parading down the street, and there's anthropomorphic, like, cabinets and suitcases and refrigerators. But that was not like this at all. And it was just like, I remember thinking, because I watched this, I think, yesterday, actually. Maybe I rewatched some of it. I don't know. But within the last 24 hours, I've seen this movie. I definitely thought, like, oh, man, you know what? This is like Japanese animation that's just a real life story, which it is. It is. It's like there's no giant swords, there's no magic anywhere, there's no huge explosions or traveling through dreams with DC minis. Like, it's just a story, which, again, when we've talked about, our culture in America when it comes to cartoons, we don't have these types of, I can't remember watching a cartoon that was serious like that. And it was just a real, like, America, we just made a live action movie about it in this story, but they made an animated movie. Yeah, with it. It's just a story.
This could have been a live action movie.
Oh yeah, but it's just an animated one by Satoshi Kon. And so, but I know that was one of the thoughts I had. This movie, guys, just to let you know, if you haven't seen it and you want to watch it,
you should.
Dude, prepare yourself, because this has very heavy subject matter, very traumatic scenes. If you're sensitive to those kinds of things, I'm putting a warning.
If you've watched Black Swan, Whiplash, what are some other torture?
There are strong scenes of abuse in this movie.
You know what I'm talking about? Those kinds of movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're looking for a content warning, it's there's like scenes of sexual assault and things like that, but it's
murder.
Murder. I mean, but it's stalking. Yeah, I mean, it's for anybody who has dealt with the many creeps in the world. It's it's not just for the people that have experienced that, but if you are affected by that kind of thing, it's
if you're sensitive to those kinds of things, then this is your warning. It might be a very difficult watch for you. It was, I will say, difficult to watch, because this is rated R, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you have it, another Japanese rated R animated film that's not for kids and for some adults. But I will say, the storytelling was insanely good. Mm-hmm. There was enough intrigue that I was like, oh man, like, that's what I want in a movie, is to, like, kind of be like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I want to be misled too, just a little bit. And they misled me quite a bit. And, I mean, but overall, the storytelling, the effect was, I think, effective. I think what he was trying to portray.
Very clear.
Yeah, very clear.
Very clear.
Very effective. He
From jump, you were like, okay, this is what this story is about.
Yeah, I mean, and it does, and it's intriguing. It pulls you in. It definitely was. Again, it was jaw dropping for many reasons. In I think mostly a good way. So that's my take on it.
Hunter, I've also been on record to say that the reason why Americans don't see anime as like an adult medium is because our culture is to try to make things more and more realistic. So the American equivalent of anime is like a CG live action movie.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of animation. I mentioned earlier that I'm not really into anime so much, just because I didn't have the exposure to it. But like the Hayao Miyazaki movies are like so paramount to me, like so important to me.
Which we have one of those. We've done Ponyo, so you should go watch that and like it. And subscribe.
Ponyo is really
He's
really
shilling
important
real
to me.
hard today.
Really?
In ways that are it's a really important movie to me.
It's the better Little Mermaid.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's just I won't go into Ponyo, but like, so the Studio Ghibli movies, but more specifically Hayao Miyazaki, who is like on my
Studio
director-
Ghibli, or is it
Died.
is it Ghibli?
Ghibli. I don't know. Ghibli.
Can you say that on YouTube?
I try.
There's
We'll just
the
bleep
rest
it
of the
out.
joke
We'll
for
bleep
you.
it out.
There you go.
But he's on my like director Mount Rushmore, so like I have that exposure to anime, right? But I think I care a lot. I'm also a huge Disney fan, huge Pixar fan, huge animation fan in general. I care a lot about the medium, and it's really interesting the way we treat it here in the States, where like they don't treat it that way in France, they don't treat it that way in Japan, like many places all over the world. It is a medium, not a genre that is limited to certain kinds of audiences. And I'm curious, I mean, I know we have to like go into the plot and stuff, but I'm curious as to why you guys think this movie is animated. Why is it animated instead of live action?
Why they chose that?
Yeah.
I think it's just so much easier to get people involved in whatever reality is being told through animation in general. Because if you're not looking at it like, oh, this could have been my life, you're more into the character. I think that's true for any medium. I think for paintings, you can get into the eyes of the artist easier. I think that with music, you can do that easier.
Like that there's innately a separation. As soon as you put something in animation, characters, you're not worried about how relatable characters are.
Right, you're not going, this is me, I'm this character. You go, this character is experiencing this.
I see what you mean.
Like, you get to be that
That's
character.
an interesting take.
So you guys are sounds like you guys are seeing eye to eye on this subject.
We are. I think so.
You know, saying things like references doesn't make them puns, Jarvis.
No, but it's funny because they're callbacks. They're
it's callbacks to a Goofy movie.
You guys did a Goofy movie? Oh man.
The full episode actually went up today, which if you're watching this was several weeks ago.
One of my favorite movies. I love it.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Dude, we've done all the movies that you like. You
I know.
should
It's
watch
okay.
them.
Just call me anytime. I like movies. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting take. I have always kind of struggled with this too, where I'm like, oh, I really not struggled, but like I've always wondered, like I wonder why this is animated. Like you're right, it could be live action. And I think there's some elements that create a kind of separation, or there's some elements that almost make it feel more dreamlike. I mean, of course, Satoshi Kon is innately bringing this like dreamlike element to most of his films. And there's some really weird kind of like trippy stuff in this movie a little bit, but I've always kind of not that hasn't been my hurdle with this movie, but it's been like a monkey wrench in the gears where I'm like, why I'm just curious, or like a popcorn kernel in my teeth.
Yeah,
is more accurate.
I think there's also something to be said about how certain ways of telling a story comes across different ways.
Yeah.
So like this story could have been told live action, and at the same time, there's some characters in this that would look ridiculous or extremely silly in live action, where it'd probably take you out of it a little bit, or even vice versa. Like you can make the argument that all of the Marvel movies should be animated, because the reality of it is these are real people, and it's kind of silly that they're all wearing frilly little costumes and punching people, you know?
Yeah.
But they chose to go a different route with it. And I think also specifically for this movie, there are a couple of characters that look a very specific way that you're like, that's an interesting choice, that if you were to try to find somebody who actually looks like that would be kind of, instead of looking at them as a caricature, would be like villainizing them for the way they look, which is a common thing that movies have done for a very long time. If you haven't been aware of that, have you been aware of that? There's been a really like bad thing with media as a whole for a long time, where they villainize crippled people. It's people in wheelchairs.
Media wouldn't do that. Media, I know media. Media is a nice person. They would never put handicapped people in a bad light.
Look at this guy, Mr. Hollywood over here.
You know what? to speak on what you guys are talking about, I don't think it's that deep. I think it's just
He just does too.
Yeah, that's just his medium. Maybe there's more access to animation studios that would take on his story rather than a live action film crews. I feel like live action
very likely.
I feel like movies are just harder to do, more expensive.
Mhm.
Animation, I mean, from what I hear, they're slave drivers and they can do the work for cheap.
Yeah, true.
But that's my first thought is just like, you know what? I think it's just it's
an access to resources.
Yeah, and also I think it just gives way to more creativity in visuals when you can just draw what you imagine instead of trying to make it look real. Because if you've ever seen movies like, I don't know, any movie that has talking animals and they have to animate their lips moving, it just looks ridiculous.
The live action Lion King.
Yeah.
Air Bud.
Yeah, any of those movies. So I just think that, one, it's easier to be
Hotel
creative
for
with
Dogs.
animation, as well as I think it was cheaper, more accessible, especially in Japan,
Yeah.
where they have tons of animation studios. And again, I think it was just more, maybe an animation studio was just more likely to take on that kind of, and especially with, some of the racy scenes that are in the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I also think that that's an important thing to bring up about it too, is because that's you seeing somebody go through stuff like that, like a person versus an animated scene. It helps you connect the dots a little bit better for what the story's trying to tell.
I think it could be a lot worse in live action. That
right.
kind
That's
of
what
stuff.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That you look at it and you're not.
No.
Getting
But what
the
I'm saying
right
is
message.
that if it was in live action, it would be worse than animation.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
which is different than what you were saying.
Yes. Sure.
I think no, I see what you mean. I don't know. I can't speak to like how expensive the process of animation or anything is. I mean, to some degree,
And why did we bring you on here? if
most
you
of
can't
this
speak to that?
movie.
what's going on here?
You're right.
You misled us.
Back in the closet, Hunter.
Oh, man,
You told us.
better luck next week. What are we talking about next week?
I don't know.
Okay, I guess we'll
Gremlins?
see. Yeah,
Oh,
I was trying to think of. I was fishing for a really terrible answer. But it's okay.
It's the Emoji Movie again.
It's-
We're
oh,
just gonna
no,
talk about the
Emoji Movie 2.
No, it's the Emoji 2V. First of all,
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, regarding like budgets and stuff, I don't know the answer outside of like, I'm sure I've heard anecdotes of Kon talking about why he decided to make this movie. Outside of like, he talks so much about the blending of dreams and reality and where one ends and the next begins. But part of me thinks like, oh, you could have made this movie for like, I don't know, a couple $1 million. Like it's not that crazy. Like there's not, you think about the things that happen in it
yeah, there's not.
outside of like
Much.
a couple large crowd scenes, like that aren't even that large.
You have to shoot in a studio for the studio scenes. That's crazy.
It's like pretty self-contained and like,
It has all the makings of like an A24 movie.
for sure.
yeah.
Not crazy expensive. The scenes are pretty modest.
Yeah.
As far as like
And you
the
don't,
locations.
and you don't hear anything about it except your one friend Hunter who shows up and goes, "Hey, you should go see this while it's in theaters." And you go, "I really this one?" And then you do, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god!"
Yeah. Go. I'm telling you. Yeah. Well, and it's crazy too, because like I don't know. Last weekend I went to go see The Substance, the new. I don't know if you guys know about this movie. It's a really crazy.
See, here he goes.
Here we go. It's
classic
this,
Hunter. Am
it's
I
this
right?
really crazy sort of body horror movie released by Mubi. It's really great. Anyway, I won't go into it, but like that movie is so crazy and is kind of. I'm sure I can't speak to budgets at all, but seems like it was made pretty cheap and like looks great, feels great, is kind of dealing with not similar themes, but like kind of playing in the same space of fame and the cost of fame and
I feel like you were describing the perfect woman. Doesn't cost a lot, looks great, feels great.
Oh no. Oh.
All right, time for me to get out.
So
Hey, Jarvis.
but
get
like
out.
when I when I think about like if this movie could have been live action, it's the thing I think of. Like I've seen crazier movies made for less with like much crazier effects, and so I do think there is something, just even if it was not a conscious choice of him being like, I need to make this an animated movie, there is some kind of subtext happening specifically because it's animated, just like by definition. You know what I mean? If Brad Bird had decided to make The Incredibles live action, it just would have carried with it different subtext. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just a question I had that I was curious about y'all's answer.
Into the Spider-Verse is animated, and that's really great. And I would just want to say that so that the world knows it.
For you anime fans, if you guys like crazy anime stuff, new series just came out called Dan to Dan.
Yeah, I saw it already.
You watched it?
I did.
Awesome animation on that.
Pretty great.
Anyways,
Speaking of Dan to Dan, let's get into the story.
yeah,
So who's our main character, our main protagonist?
yeah. I'll take the reins. Don't worry, Hunter.
Thank you for saving me. That I being put on the spot is my great fear.
As we've come to say, this one, I also think this happened with Paprika too, except I was trying to like stumble through the things that happened because I didn't really get it.
Well, the visuals are so crazy that it's hard to describe with words. That's a movie that like watching it is I would say is a must to understand. Like us just rambling about what we were seeing in Paprika just doesn't make any sense.
This one will. My summary of it's going to make you feel like this movie is kind of lame. You should absolutely watch it. That is not the case at all. It is
not lame at all.
So our main character, Mima, is a low tier pop idol in her 3-person pop group.
Cham.
Yeah.
Cham. I just want to say before we move on, Cham kind of rocks.
It's also
kind of rocks.
That's also the shortened version of their name. Their full name is Cham de Kiss.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it on one of the little things.
Cham de Kiss.
It was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
I don't know what that means, but
me either.
Cham rocks. Give me full Cham album now.
And so we get to watch them do a performance, which is actually Mima's last performance with them because she's moving on from being a low-tier pop idol to being a bit character in CSI Miami.
She's trying to cross over to acting.
What's the one? Criminal Minds is basically what's happening.
What's it called? It's
CSI.
like double bind.
Yeah, double bind.
CSI Tokyo.
Yeah.
Except I'm not sure. I think it was like an actual full movie that they were making. Or was it a series?
No,
I think
it's a series.
Yeah,
it's a
TV
series.
Yeah. So she got a bit part in that and is trying to transition to being an actress, mostly because her agents didn't feel like she was making enough as a pop idol, which is what she wanted to do, and felt like they could elevate her career. And
she's a real Harry Styles.
Yeah.
Real Harry
Except
Styles.
without all the hair.
And less baking. He used to work at a bakery.
He did.
Oh, I thought you just meant he smoked.
That's more Harry Styles lore than I know. That's
he used to bake the bread at a bakery. How does everyone not know that?
You're a fake Harry Styles fan?
No, I'm not
Yeah,
talking
that's what
about
I-
Harry
that's what I thought
Styles
too.
smoking weed. I'm talking about him baking bread. He used to bake bread before he was in One Direction.
I thought you were just saying he used to get
before
baked.
Simon Cowell scouted him for One
he
Direction.
was just back there,
Baking bread.
cute little bakery boy.
Yeah.
Bakery boyfriend.
Yes. So Mima,
Good for him.
not a bakery girlfriend, feels kind of like reticent about going into this. She already has a bunch of fans from her pop group.
Yeah, there's one who's paying very hard attention to her from the.
Yeah, one that basically follows everything that she does, who is also a character who is minorly deformed. He looks very weird and very uncomfortable.
And like truly, the first time you see him, he is incredibly. It's really
it's
unsettling.
uncomfortable. Yeah,
Like, it's really
like you
unsettling.
look at it and you're like, oh, that's weird.
And to speak about what you were, not to go back down this hole, but
You're
you're
fine.
right. Like it's important that this is an animation almost because he is designed to look unsettling.
Yes.
Like it is not
like he is a horror movie villain.
Exactly. And like he's breathing heavy. He's like it's
everything
really,
he does. Like everyone's like having a good time at the concert, and he's sitting there in the very front, like putting
Kneeling
his hand
down,
close enough to where he could like have her dancing in his hand. Is
from
how
his
he's
perspective,
introduced.
yeah.
And so, and that's where it clicked in my head. I was like, this is about stand culture. The movie is done. And I was like, I get it immediately. This is what we're talking about. Easy. And so, small things happen between the time that Mima gets out of the pop group and starts being an actress. We know that she's got a lot of fans that are very opinionated about the things that she does.
As fans tend to be.
They tend
to have lots of opinions about
we
the
learned
people
that
they
there
idolize.
is a little fan group on the internet.
This is like the beginning of the internet, too.
Yeah. It's like she
It's
doesn't
like-
even have a computer yet. She doesn't even know what a computer does.
Yeah, it's like 96 or 97, and like this
Yeah.
is the internet is
It's
just
new.
sort of
and
becoming a thing.
her female agent tells her about this basically like blog that's called Mima's Room that tracks all of the stuff that she does, to the point where like they get her a computer so that she can keep up to date with her fans. And so she goes and does her first day on set. She has one line and she's stressed about it.
And if I remember correctly, they cut to like them filming the scene, and it's like a really grotesque murder. Like I think the joke is that it goes there and it's like both of his arms were cut off, and like it's like so.
Yeah.
That joke is so funny to me. Anytime anybody uses that joke of like you cut and it's like something really really grotesque being said on film, it's so funny.
And so it's very like. I think it's also important that they went with like the calloused filmmaking approach of like, this is a very unsettling thing, and she's like moving into a weird part of her career, and everyone's just going through the motions. Like this is just another day on
I
set.
feel like it's a very accurate portrayal of the biz.
Yeah. Some fan mail comes in for the lead actress, and there's actually one letter that's for Mima, and so since she's actively in front of camera, they give it to one of her agents and they go, hey, this one's for her, by the way. And then it cuts off screen and there's an explosion.
She's about to deliver her first line ever.
Yeah, and then boom, the letter blows up in her agent's hand, which is nuts. And her, yeah, right? How did they get a bomb that thin?
The 90s, man. Everybody was like putting stuff in envelopes.
Yeah.
Do you remember the
Arsenic.
anthrax scare?
Anthrax.
Anthrax.
Mm-hmm. There was a one recently that was like multi-state like mail bomber where somebody was putting bombs in mailboxes to where like when they open the mailbox it explodes, which was stupid. Don't do that.
Hey,
Do something else.
Hey, listen. Don't put bombs in envelopes.
Or mailboxes.
I just realized somebody could edit that to make it sound incredibly.
Hey.
Put
Don't. This is okay.
no, don't worry. We only have 100 plus 118.
Yeah, and the only
subscribers right
person
now.
that's going to edit that is me.
Yeah.
So Mima's appropriately like, hey, should we do something about this? And everyone else goes, nope. To which I'm sure everybody was like, that's kind of weird. Why are they doing that? And I think it's because they're trying to protect her, because obviously if somebody was out to get her, they want the attention in the news. And so if they see that it worked, then they'd try something more drastic.
Yeah,
That's
sure,
my
maybe.
opinion of what that was. In Criminal Minds, if it didn't make the news, it wasn't drastic enough. That's what Sybil said.
Okay.
As we learn later, that's actually my headcanon's not the case. Because there's some weird stuff going on.
I love that you went out of your way to be like, my headcanon is this is why that happened. Actually, that's not true. It's so good. I love that idea. Actually, that's not true at all. But
I'm
here's
just
what-
spoiling it for everybody later who's
yeah.
got to be able to read between the lines. Because if you haven't watched the movie, you're watching this instead, you're making a mistake. First of all. Second of all, you know what I'm talking about. You all know what I'm talking about.
You know who he's talking about.
Unless you didn't take the 10 minutes to decompress after it ended and were just like, that was weird, and moved on with your life. Anyways, so they just continue on with their day. Mima goes on to the chat room, not the chat room, the blog, and is like, oh, there's a thing that says my diary. It said that I went to the store today, and I got myself the expensive milk and food for my fish, and that's really weird. How do people know about that? That's really weird.
Extremely specific.
Yeah. So she was like, oh, they really follow me. And then she read that, and she was like, oh,
Literally.
this is a problem.
They're literally following her.
And so from then on out, she's very self-conscious, obviously, because she's being followed, and she's trying to succeed in this new career path in her life, and is being followed actively. And I feel like some things dig deeper into that until it gets to the point where her agent's talking to the writer of the show and is like, hey, don't you think that we could get some more lines for her? She's really doing really well. And the guy goes, well, actually, I have this really drastic idea that would get her a lot of screen time. And the idea was, and this is where the trigger warning comes in, it's a rape scene. It's a murder. It's the murder show where she is a dancer at a club who gets and then has a split personality disorder that eventually evolves into being a murderer. And so that's the scene. And her female agent is like, "Hey, I don't think that's a good idea." And she goes, "Well, I mean, I'm open to the idea. It's not like it's actually happening." And so she goes through with it. And surprise, as it turns out, she actually gets very emotionally affected by doing the scene. Because that's what happens.
Surprisingly.
Especially when you don't take too much care and attention to your actors who have to do stuff like that.
And then all of her fans are really normal about it, and they're really
Super
accepting of it.
normal
And
about
they're
it.
like, they don't
No, they...
Her
slut shame her or
yeah,
anything.
she gets called a traitor.
Well, I want to say her manager was very upset having to watch that.
Yeah, her manager did
when
leave
they were
while
filming.
it.
She started crying
Yeah.
and was like so angry
Yeah,
that
it
she
just
had to
left.
leave
Yeah.
because that's how intense that scene was. And like even even there was a part where during the scene, because she's dancing, and the crowd gets a little crazy, and they start grabbing her on stage, and then they had to do a cut where they stopped.
Oh,
Everybody
yeah,
had to stay where they were, and then they were going to move the cameras, and then when they said action, they were going to start but just with a different angle. And the actor was like, "I'm so sorry." Like
yeah. No, which I thought was an actually like nice.
That's a
nice
detail.
break.
That's a detail that I thought was really like that. Even the actor understood the
That
gravity
it
of the
was
scene
not okay,
and
yeah.
the fact that she was a young girl who this is like her first gig.
Mm-hmm.
So he was probably just like
And
he was a side character.
And I thought that was a very nice moment for her to have.
Yeah, right before the horrible stuff actually happened.
Yeah,
after
but you have
they
to
said
think
action
they're
again.
trying to be professionals, and so they're trying to show the like professionalism of the moment, even though it's so heavy and affects her so much.
And what's really interesting here too is that, like, I don't know, have you guys seen Millennium Actress? Have you guys seen the other? Okay, Satoshi Kon in all of these movies that he's making is dealing with like film as dream, like
Yeah.
it's or
All
like
of them.
or like we can kind of movies TV.
If you've watched
wrap it
one,
into film.
you know.
Yeah, and so all of the movies do this, and it's so interesting that his first movie is kind of like creating this dichotomy of like, here's the real world, here's what's not real, here's what we're creating, and here's how they speak to each other and relate to each other and affect each other, and also have this strange dissonance. It's like impossible to actually draw yourself to a full understanding of how these things are working together, and completely separate at the same time.
Yeah,
It's
I agree.
like in these smaller moments, and this incredibly disturbing scene that is in no way like pleasant or anything.
Yeah.
Like,
or arguably necessary for the show that they're making.
yeah. I mean, it's like
Like
really
it's just a
graphic.
shock
Definitely
moment.
just gratuitous.
It's so graphic, and like in the context of the movie, it just is like, I don't know. It's crazy. The last time I watched this movie, I was like, I'm really not looking forward to getting there, and I don't know if it's necessary. and then I struggle with rape scenes in
It
movies
also
often.
dragged on for so long.
Well, and then I watched it again, and I was like, no, the point that the movie's making
is that it's
here.
uncomfortable.
It's here. Like,
He is making the point of how unnecessary that is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And drawing those I mean, like, there's so many scenes in this movie that the whole movie is just inside of, right?
Yep.
And like this is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those moments.
Yeah. And the fact that it's animation, but he captures the reality of that industry so well. I think, like I said, it's gratuitous, it's unnecessary, but yet it's there. And I think there's like that kind of, there's a lot of that exploitation of young, I'll say people in general, but I'd say with a lot of females even in America's film industry. Where they're maybe pushed to, maybe sexual things way before they ever should. And since this is her first gig, I feel like that's the case. But my point was just to make that it's, to me, like when I'm watching a movie, sometimes it's the little details that a director will add. To me, that little moment where the guy was like, where they had to be frozen, he just said, "Hey, I'm so sorry," like, because that just shows that Satoshi Kon is thinking about what the people are thinking about in that scene that is being animated. And it's this guy who's probably just a random extra, but he is very mindful and he understands the gravity of what they're doing, the scene that they're in, and the fact that she's young and this is her first gig. Like, that this guy, even though he's about to do something horrible on camera, is actually just like, "Hey man, like this is just for the thing. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, this is difficult for all of us." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought that was just a neat little detail. Sorry to
It's okay.
put us on a tangent for that, but
So after this scene is done, we go back to seeing her ex pop group friends, and they're celebrating because one of their new singles made it into the top 100s, which has never happened for them. And so she is like there wanting to celebrate this fun achievement while also being like, I left what I loved to try to do something else that is awful. And so she dejectedly goes home to go and feed her fish, which is something that happens earlier in the movie too. But she comes back and they're dead. Her fish have died. And that sets her off. Not because the fish are dead, obviously. And is kind of fun because when a movie connects you to the main character enough, you know what's happening, but as it's happening. So I was watching it, and she was like breaking shit in her room because her fish died, and I was like, this isn't about the fish. And then she rips off all of the blankets on her bed, and she goes, "Of course I didn't want to do the fucking scene. Of course I didn't want to do it." And I was like, hell yeah, we're here.
she's having a strong battle with her conscience and maybe even some feelings of guilt.
Yeah, and so she keeps telling herself, like, this is what I chose to do. This is what I want to do.
Isn't she literally like talking to herself?
I don't think that happens yet. I don't think that gets there to where she's talking to Mima, the pop star.
Okay.
I don't think that happens quite yet.
I think it does because she was seeing herself in reflections and stuff. Even in the car ride home afterwards, she looked.
Yeah. You're right.
So that's what I'm saying. I think that she was seeing.
I think you're right.
Herself, and maybe she was kind of, when she looked at herself in the mirror, it was the pop star version of herself.
Yeah.
Who was responding to her in a way that was kind of saying like,
you're
ruining
and
yourself.
She was reading the things on the blog post that were being written on her behalf, I guess, because people aren't sure whether it's actually her writing them or not. It's like they forced me to do it.
There was somebody.
Help me.
Yeah, there's somebody who is writing on her behalf as her
that knows everything that she's doing.
Yeah.
And her crazy fans that are following it and listening to it.
And is it at this point, remind me, that she starts to have the break in reality where she's like, am I actually writing this? And I've got this weird, like, separation happening from myself. Isn't this a realization that she comes upon at some point, or am I making that up?
No, she does struggle with the is this actually happening? Am I having like
right? Am I writing the blog and I don't know I'm writing the blog? Is any of this? Am I actually seeing what I'm actually seeing?
Know, I don't know if she actually had that moment. I got the impression that the entire time she was like, somebody is writing this for me, and this is not me.
Okay.
And I think that's what causes her to start having that like,
who's
writing? Who is pop? Who is the actual pop Mima? Who is writing these accurate things? But like, is
I
it
couldn't
me?
remember if that came up. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's very far off.
Because of the details, she's like, it could be me writing it, but it's obviously not because I'm not. She knows that she's not doing it, but
right.
The amount of detail is very concerning.
Right. And then I can't remember exactly what happens after this. There's a point at which that she goes and does a photo shoot, and
doesn't the stalker guy try to like attack her at some point?
Not yet. That happens later. He continues to follow her around. Like he's everywhere.
He's showing up every so often.
Yeah, he is everywhere. And she's avoiding as many people as possible and like running from people in public. And she does this photo shoot, and her ex-pop group members make a comment about how the photographer has a really bad habit of getting models to take their clothes off, and of course she's just going to do it because why wouldn't she? And then that does happen, and then it gets published, and all of her fans definitely don't get weird about it. As Hunter put it, they definitely don't get weird about it.
Nobody's weird about anything in this movie. Everybody's normal. And reacts
everybody goes, "Wow, good for her! Wow, look at how confident she is."
Making their own decisions. When people make their own decisions, everybody's normal about it.
Yeah, everyone's super normal about it.
It's like in real life.
And the weird dude who I don't think is actually ever named goes and is definitely not super weird about it, and goes and buys all of the copies and takes all of the copies of it so that nobody else can see it, because this is not who she is. This isn't who she is at all.
Yeah, he's trying to protect her.
So yeah, he's got to protect Pop Mima, because that's who she is, the sweet innocent pop star.
Yeah, and she can't be anything other than what he wants her to be.
Right, because that's how stands work.
He literally, because it's at a magazine stand, and one guy's looking at it and he sees him, and he just rips it out of his hand, and then he mad dogs the guy selling the stuff, and then it cuts to his room where he has like all of them.
It has to be all.
He
of
went
them.
around the whole city, got all the magazines.
Like it.
Apparently, this guy's got money
now. Yeah, thick wallet for sure. And then I'm starting to forget, because this is where it starts to like blur together a lot. It's not complicated. It's just a lot. And it's complicated when you're watching it, but once it resolves, you're like, okay, yeah, I get it now. So Mima keeps on having this like identity crisis of who is she? Because she's not doing what she wants to do. She's not who she's become. All of her fans think that she's a traitor, and like is completely going against who she was as a person. She's not happy. She doesn't know if she's the one who's writing all of this shit, or if somebody's stalking her and is like out to get her.
And then there's the thing where like her job, like the show she's filming is dealing with it. Her character is dealing with like dissociative identity disorder, and so then like things she's doing in the show she thinks are happening in real life.
Yeah, and it keeps on blending in.
Together.
Well, also people,
and then the producer of the show gets murdered.
People around the show, just people that are involved in her life and maybe around this decision start to get brutally murdered.
The producer of the show gets murdered. The writer of the show gets murdered, and then there's this is like towards the end, but one of her agents also gets murdered. So and people are starting to make the jokes. It's like, oh, she's cursed. Let's start making bets on who's going to die next. It's tech humor. That's what they were making it
tech humor.
Wait, does the tech, as a former actor, does the tech group talk about the actors this way?
Yeah, no, I remember specifically in high school theater being like, man, wouldn't it be so cool if we had a phantom that just like sat in.
Wow. I have never known this.
No, the texts are extremely morbid.
I've worked lights once and it was fine.
Yeah.
And
There
I wasn't a techie.
There
I
were
was just
jokes
an
about
actor
how
doing
if we
lights.
focused the spotlights enough, we could burn people's corneas on stage.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
not like they would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys sound like
Oh yeah. We had some of that too, where it's like, man, if they just dance a little bit closer, they might.
you guys sound like you were written by Satoshi Kon. That's dark.
It's just tech humor. It's quite literally like even
That's
when I
very
was
dark.
even when I was working at
That's very
SeaWorld
dark
as an adult,
coming from a light guy.
there was a lot of stuff.
I'm just kidding.
That wasn't a light
I know,
guy.
it's
Come on.
not. I was digging him, but
Oh, okay. He's not paying attention. It's fine.
yeah, it's not.
I was trying to see if that dude has a name. I think
He
the
does.
Wikipedia is referring to him as Me Mania, I think.
Oh
which
yeah,
is-
because that was his online name.
yeah.
Was Me Mania.
Yeah.
And so there comes to this like battle with Mima, who's like, is she gonna get murdered? Is someone out to get her? What's going on? And it comes to the
She's starting to think that too, that someone's trying to get her.
yeah, for sure. And it does come to the point where the online not real Mima is messaging the fan group to the weird guy Mimania, and is like, that's not who I am. She's an imposter and she's trying to ruin my image. And he goes, that I will take care of her for you. I will get rid of her.
Yes.
Which is crazy because at this point we have no idea like what's actually happening. I for a long while thought that the weird dude was the guy writing the blog.
Yeah.
And so he was just talking to himself like, yeah, I'll kill her for you. Even though he's
Everybody's
the one
crazy in
writing it.
this. Everybody's crazy in this.
Which is not the case, which is not what happens. But I did think that was what was going on for the longest time.
Well, Satoshi Kon made it that way. He wanted us to think that.
Yeah.
He was gaslighting us the
He
whole
was.
time. And
he was definitely gaslighting.
He was winning.
He was also
All good
gaslighting Mima the whole
filmmakers.
time too, because she
True.
also thought that might have been what was happening.
Clip this. All good filmmakers are gaslighters. They all gaslight you.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, baby. That's what I'm saying. Gatekeep, girl boss.
Film make. What's the thing called? Gate.
The slate?
Check the gate. Gaslight, gatekeep, check the gate. Is that something? Right? Check the gate is like in film. Never mind.
That's a sound thing.
Oh, it's a sound.
That's a sound thing.
Oh,
So now that I have my microphone back,
Oh.
this is so warm.
oh yeah.
You got warm hands.
I run hot, buddy.
Check the gate is sound.
Yeah, because
now I
gate
feel like-
is the gate is a thing that allows the sound to go through without
I
noise.
remember the times that I've been on set and like heard people say stuff and like I
Hey.
don't know anything behind the camera.
You're doing a
but
great job.
thanks. I'm hanging in there.
Just stick to
So
your cue card.
You look pretty, so you don't have to learn the tech stuff. That's the important thing.
That's what they always told me on set. Nobody told me I looked pretty on set. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You want us to write you a bigger, heavier scene?
Right now?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Good answer.
Good call.
answer.
Good call. I didn't want to get murdered next week anyway. So yeah, this all like culminates to Mima goes in and like has like a whole week of just disassociating and being like, I don't know what's real, but she gets through the last shoot days and they're like, yay, great. You did such a good job. We're done. Congrats. And she's like, oh, and it feels like there's just like this breath of fresh air. And then the weird guy shows up after everybody leaves and she's about to leave. And he's like, hey, you're an imposter and I'm going to murder you. And he's very weird about it, too. He's like
Yeah,
serial killery about
time,
it.
he's weird. He was not weird before. This time
This time he's very
Not
serial
normal.
killery about it. He's like, it's time for your next take. And just tries to stab her. She gets away somehow. Because, gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. She girl bossed
Check
it.
the gate.
Check the gate. And her manager finds her and is like, oh my God, I've been looking for you everywhere. Come get in the car. I'll take you to Mima's room. Yep. which I also thought was kind of benign when I was listening. I was like, that's a weird way to phrase it.
Weird way to
And it cuts very briefly to our other manager who got murdered, and the weird guy is also dead. So that's the last murder, maybe.
So we know it's not him
So we know it's not him
because he's gone.
Yeah. So Rumi, the manager, takes her to Mima's room, which is an exact copy of what Mima's room looked like before she changed it up and left the pop group, and all of the fish are alive. And Mima goes, "Hey, this is kind of weird because this is my room, but it's not."
It's kind of like getting invited to a sleep no more about your life.
Yeah.
It's like
not fun.
Personal sleep no more. Not fun.
If I woke up
Creepy.
in my apartment bedroom, I think I'd jump off the balcony.
Fully.
It's like, I'm not doing this one again. I don't want this. Thanks. And so this is where we get like another identity struggle where Mima is seeing the Pop Mima, and Pop Mima's like, well, because the weird guy didn't do it, I guess I got to take matters into my own hands and kill you. And everyone collectively goes, she's not real though. It's because her agent was the weird one the whole time. Her agent was the one writing the blogs. Rumi. She was a bad Rumi. Yeah, she is the toxic stan who wanted to be to be Mima the whole time.
We've all had a bad Rumi in our lives.
And so, thank you, Jarvis, for your riveting commentary.
Contributions. I know my contributions are
helpful.
Yeah.
So there's a final struggle where Rumi's trying to kill Mima for like 10 minutes. She literally running around the city where Mima's like, "Help! Somebody help me!" And nobody does.
Rumi's having a psychotic break. Like it's like a
yeah, they're like all having a psychotic break at the same time. Well, it's fucking nuts.
She's wearing her idol costume and she puts on a wig, and then her eyes fix.
Yeah. No,
Rumi's eyes. I like that we're like now trying to explain the movie.
Rumi's eyes are very far apart.
Rumi's eyes are very far apart, and when she looks like Mima, her eyes
back together.
She looks more like Mima. It's
just the identity crisis
it's not
thing.
Real.
Yeah.
It's not a magic wig.
It's not a magic wig.
It doesn't just fix her eyes, but it's funny to say that because it does. When she's wearing the wig, she looks like me.
Apparently a little too much.
Yeah, they get to a struggle, and then she falls on some glass in a window.
And Rumi falls on some glass and cuts her stomach open, and then stumbles into the street where she's like, "Yeah, if I'm gonna die, I might as well die now." And then Mima jumps in front of the truck and saves them both. And then Rumi goes to the psych ward, and Mima sends her flowers every once in a while, which I think is very sweet.
It was very nice of her. She's a good person.
And that's the story. And she ends up being like, "No, yeah, I'm confident that I am myself now." And she is the reason why I am myself.
I was trying to remember like what the last lines of the movie are because they're really great. But it's like her looking in the real
and she.
Wait,
I am me.
Of the movie, wasn't it her just looking at camera saying, "That's all, folks"?
No, I think you're thinking of.
Am I thinking of a different movie?
I think you're thinking of that one, the Looney Tunes cartoon where Bugs Bunny dressed up as a lady.
Tunes, that's where I got confused. Okay, I thought the last line.
Different anime.
If Looney Tunes was around, was like in its heyday when Perfect Blue came out, they would have
100% done that.
They would have done a great send up.
It would have been Bugs messing with Daffy for like an hour and a half.
Yeah. But there's that shot of like her looking in the rearview mirror and saying something like "I am me," like having full ownership of herself. Again, I'm the real Mima.
See, she goes, "Yeah, I am Mima," and then her eyes drift apart. the dumbest ending.
Oh my god!
I think that was in the director's cut, actually.
Perfect ending to the Perfect Blue movie.
The perfect ending to the Perfect Blue.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Big question: why is it called Perfect Blue?
It's a good question. I don't know. Even the poster, the main theatrical poster, is not a scene in the movie. It's not reflective of anything that's in the movie.
I feel like it might be a translation thing.
I don't even think that the color blue appeared in the movie.
I am sure it's been like well vetted. I don't think it's like something that's like innocuous. But
put it in the comments.
I really don't.
Put it in the comments. Do you like my Brennan-isms?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't get them.
I think I said get in the comments earlier too. I'm so dropout. Yeah. No.
We got to get Jarvis onto the dropout.
Yeah.
Thing.
The train.
Yeah. You would love Brendan Lee Mulligan. Brendan Lee Mulligan would love. Actually, he probably does love Perfect Blue. I don't think I should assume he hasn't watched it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the movie. Like that's great job, Michael.
Thank you.
You did much better than I did.
Identity
with Star
Crisis.
Wars, and people are going to be a lot less mad at you.
And stand culture. That's the movie. Is Identity Crisis and stand culture, and the pressures of trying to to appease everybody despite what you want for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good themes in the. I mean that you can learn from. I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like dealing with your own identity and like how you view yourself. How you see that through the lens of how other people see you,
how other people see you affect you.
Yeah, how other people's ideas of you can pressure you to be a certain way.
Yeah,
and it's truly just about accepting yourself and even your mistakes. Like, and maybe she didn't. I don't know. I mean, I guess she did kind of view some of the things that she did, that she compromised on, as mistakes, because clearly she felt guilty about it. That maybe she didn't want to, but her desire to stand out above the crowd was stronger than, her desire to just stay mediocre, I guess. But she's already a pop idol. But like dealing with paparazzi, dealing with people who want to view you in the way that they want you to be, there's a lot to be said about that. Because we all known a lot of people pleasers, and it's difficult for them to. They care very much about how people view them. And for her to be at the end of it, who's gone through so much trauma, to finally be able to say, you know what, I made the decisions I made.
Yeah.
And you know what, this is my life. This is the life that I've chosen, and I'm going to live with those decisions. It's good, I think.
I used to do a really cringe thing where I would talk about I don't do it anymore. I'm going to do it right now just because I think it fits the point. But I used to do a really cringe thing where I would talk about the difference between what makes a movie and what makes a movie a film in my eyes.
I've heard people talk about this before.
Yeah. And I think it's cringe because it's all a matter of perspective at this point. So that's why I don't do it anymore. But this is what I would have considered a film back then. And basically my metric for that, you and I have talked about this before, is that you can allow yourself to like escape for a couple of hours and enjoy not being a person by watching a movie. But what I considered a film was something that supersedes that and allows you to grow as a person. And this is one of those movies, in my opinion. It's a movie that you look at it, and it's not something that you watch because it's like comforting and lets you escape, but something that lets you look at yourself and be like, damn, there is something wrong with life.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing that I am so taken by with this movie all the time is like, so right now, something that's going on in pop culture that some of your listeners may or may not know about is there's this really famous singer, Chappell Rowan, who like has been getting like stalked by her fans who want to say hi to her, who really love her, and then like she gets really upset. I mean, she's been really upset on social media about like, here's what like, here are my boundaries. I'm letting you know, here are my boundaries, and then people are getting upset at her, and like it's so funny that we're talking about all of this, and then that shoots to my brain. Where
this is a great connection.
That's what this movie is about, right? It is so much a movie about the identity, the self, and the relationship that has to being famous. That nowadays, and what Satoshi Kon saw, I mean, it was true back then, but there was more of a separation. Now, in today's version of fame, your fame is your person. You're selling everybody on your personality. Like, social media, you have constant contact with the people that you know to be famous. And so selling yourself is selling a piece of yourself that is preserved in amber. And that is the thing that everybody loves. And very few people are willing to change with you as you change, right? We can think about like Miley Cyrus, Britney Spears. It is like over and over and over again. This has been happening.
It continues to cycle.
It continues. And like the other crazy thing about the industry that I think this movie is really indicting is precisely the things that you are told, especially women are told, are going to like allow them to level up, that are going to allow them to take their career to the next level, that are going to allow them to be seen and taken more seriously, are precisely the things that we degrade women for on a daily basis as a culture. Yeah,
Legally
exactly.
Blonde.
And so like it is such a layered movie about how, not only how that affects the self, but like what part of yourself do you have to pack away?
Yeah.
Or, I think Mima...
What do you present to the public as well versus what
Exactly.
you keep private?
And Mima does a really great job, like, I think at the beginning of this movie, like, separating her personality from... I mean, she seems to be really well adjusted to what fame is... I mean, she seems well adjusted going into, like, what will be her explosion of fame that she's going to have. And then, like, she can't escape... She can't do anything right, If she stays in these one-line roles, then she left Cham for nothing, right? But if she doesn't like expose herself and do something that allows people to take her more seriously, like if she does this thing, then suddenly everybody's losing their minds at her. And it's not just the people on the blog that are being rude to her. I mean, like, you hear people talking about her on the street and saying terrible, terrible things about her.
Yep.
Normal people.
Yep.
Like,
Casually.
incredibly normal people with normal opinions.
They're casually doing it.
Yeah, who have no fame, by the way.
Yeah.
Who've never been a pop idol, so...
And
Yeah.
so it's this...
You know something, Jarvis?
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying it's just so... It's yeah, we... It's so easy to judge people that we don't know that we have a parallel relationship with because we see them in movies.
Yeah.
Or on TV. But it's just one of those things. It's like the person... You criticize the millionaire how they spend their money, but you don't know their life or you don't really know their circumstances. Also, you're broke. So, I mean, it's like, it's funny to, that was what I was saying. It was like, these guys don't have any
they have
fame,
no
they
idea.
don't understand. But
I mean,
it's so easy to throw criticisms.
But I think it's also important that Mima starts from like a place of low power.
Already like sort of
That she does not have
popular.
because she was born a woman? Wow. Okay.
The place that she starts from is like she's at a low place of fame and she has power in the scenario, but she is not she's not a millionaire. She's not overwhelmingly famous. And fame in this scenario is not like currency to be traded, right? It's like it is this a kind of hellish, ephemeral substance that like she continues to get, but she is not reaching for fame. When she decides to become an actress, she doesn't say that she wants it because she wants to be bigger. She wants to be an actress. That's what she wants to do. And then when she takes the bigger role, she doesn't do it because she wants more exposure. She wants to do it because she wants to have higher profile, like bigger parts.
Yeah, she wants to be an
so she
actress.
can really be an actress.
Well, she did, in fact, get more exposure.
It's true. And like, I think it's so...
Put your hand out.
Oh, yeah. I think this is such an important distinction, right? That it is not her trying to exert her power on the world. She is trying to seize an identity for herself through this avenue of like culture, right? Through media, through being an actress. And I think this happens so often that like people start from this place of like having these big dreams and want to seize these dreams for themselves. And oh my God, when we look at that from a bird's eye view, what a beautiful dream it is to be able to come from something, from any place and then arrive on the scene and like create these big things for yourself and express yourself in such on like a world stage. It is to Mima an avenue for freedom, but the problem with the industry and the problem with the culture is that what should be a freeway is a toll road, right? Like you don't travel that road for free. You might think you do, or it might look like you do. That might be how it's being sold to you. But they want to that road has been bought up and sold for scraps.
Yeah, the cost of freedom is very expensive.
Yeah,
The cost for freedom is expensive.
and it's been bought up by fans, by corporations, by like big movie studios, by executives. These people want you to get on that road because then they can get you to do whatever they want to do. There is just this is not an avenue for escape anymore.
Yeah.
Sounds like you just described the housing market where all the rich people are buying up all the houses and they want you in there so they can get more money off of you.
This is it's just
it's the world. It's literally just the world.
and I don't know. I think this is such a powerful movie that has a lot to say about the industry and the culture and is an indictment, but it's also like a really sorrowful thing. I don't know.
It's very sad. This movie is very sad, but also happy, but also
It's
sad.
very, very well said, Hunter.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I went off too long.
Preach.
It's okay. It's okay. This live podcasting, this is what happens.
I do want to point out before we end it. To your point, they do show her power and authority at the beginning of the movie when the fight breaks out at the concert and she gets everybody to stop.
Yeah.
Like
And
she
yeah.
has power
Influence,
and,
yeah.
and
Absolutely,
authority
she has influence.
at the beginning.
Yeah, but I think this is also like a testament to her character.
Yeah.
That she like uses
That's where she
whatever
started.
influence she has to kind of cull peace amongst the crowd, right? And she seems to have a very positive influence on these people.
Yeah.
Outside of this thing that they have decided for themselves that they are then creating this like ruckus around.
Yeah.
That has really nothing to do with her, but does have everything to do with the way that people have co-opted her identity for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
I agree.
I concur.
Rate it. Break it, fix it, use it.
I don't know that I would say own it for me, but it's definitely what I will say. Oh man, it was such a hard watch. It's hard for me to say that I would go back and rewatch it for some of the tough scenes. They were tough for me. But I will say that it is an extremely well written and animated movie. So I would say that you should watch it, but it's also rewatchable if you can handle it. I don't know that I personally will, but it's rewatchable. I don't know that I would say go and buy it and put it on your shelf unless, you know, you want to have Satoshi Kon's works and stuff like that in your library. I don't know. It's for me personally, I don't think I would buy it or own it, but I would at the very least say watch it, and I do think it is rewatchable. So I know that's kind of a broad.
Somewhere in between.
Spectrum. It's half the spectrum there that we
In the middle.
Right, yeah. So, but it's very good, very, very crazy story. I mean, it has all the things you want in a good movie. Just some heavy themes, but good stuff. Good stuff. There's good stuff in there.
Own it.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah. 2 words.
Sick. I think it's an own it for me. I think this is like, in my opinion, one of the great works.
Yeah.
It is like
top 10% of movies, if not higher.
truly.
And I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah. You just don't know if you'd want to
If you
have
would
it
wanna
on,
own it.
on rip.
Yeah.
yeah, it would just be like staring at you from the shelf.
Where it's like, oh, what do I want to watch
Ew.
today? Game night?
Ew, not that.
Perfect Blue.
Putting game night
Yeah.
first, for sure. For sure.
But I really think this is one of the great works in animation, in film, and like a really key text for the era that comes immediately after it. Like
Yeah,
I think it is so definitive
Just crazy.
to the world that becomes, or that kind of comes to fruition right after. He saw it, and it's crazy watching. We mentioned Paranoia Agent earlier. Like that kind of thing is all over Paranoia Agent too. It's nuts how accurate he was able to see these things. And what I know of Satoshi Kon is he was an incredibly humble man. He was always talked about how like he didn't feel like he was a prophet. All of it was unintentional. He was just creating these little worlds.
Yeah, like it just made sense, and so he did
Yeah,
it.
like the worlds that he was creating, this was the thing. These were the things that were true in them. But like, I think I wrote this on Letterboxd when I reviewed it one of the times I've watched it, but I don't. If you are that accurate, I don't think you're allowed to be humble about that. Like it's
Yeah, you get to walk into a room and go, yeah, I'm pretty good at that.
I know. Yeah, I guess I'm a prophet. Like it's so accurate to things that I just don't think he could have foreseen. This movie is social media. It's like,
it's timeless.
It's literally all you weirdos in the comments being mean to these two about their movie opinions. Like,
Yeah.
What do you want
Stop
to
it.
do?
You know what? You know what?
You're hurting our feelings.
To end it off, put your address in the comments.
Put your put your personal information in the comments.
What's your first and last legal name?
Producer's saying no. Never
No,
mind.
we
Retract
really-
it, Michael.
No, we really
No.
do. We do.
No, retract it.
No, we really do want you to interact with our videos. We love jumping on and having conversations with you. We love to hear your perspectives, even if they're long-winded and they're time-stamped. We may not read all of them, but we're glad that you're interacting with our videos.
I do agree with
And-
that.
Yeah,
If you
and
are
we
being a
want you-
weirdo about a movie you love, at least it's about a movie you
I
love.
just saw myself on the monitor. I looked so stressed out. These people.
Hunter just got flashbacks from Perfect Blue that was like, actually, maybe don't say all
Just
that.
being on social media, like
Yeah.
being on Twitch, everything.
Yeah.
Like it's so. Anyway,
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's soul-sucking.
Get us out of here, Jarvis.
Speaking of soul-sucking, this is Full-Time Movie Fans, and this was our Perfect Blue review. We're glad that you are joining us and have joined us. We hope your day is everything you dreamed it'd be and more, and we'll catch you on the next one.
I didn't know. It's closing time. Am I allowed? Are you guys gonna get a DMCA'd for that? Probably. Cool. I guess everybody's virtually left the studio. Cham rocks. Cham rocks.
Sup? You know, you'd look cooler if you'd subscribed.
Your dad wouldn't be so disappointed in you if you subscribed.
Your friends would do it. Aren't you like them? Don't you want to be like your friends? Your friends would do it. Nah, you're too much of a wimp anyway.
Yeah,
You could watch a couple other videos though, if you were cool.
Yeah, you won't though. Should.